Sean G, the podcast with Soul. Welcome to the channel. Make sure you subscribe, share this video, give it a thumbs up. Thank you for coming. I appreciate you. Shout out to everybody that's been following me since I started covering this Puffy trial. So glad that it's coming to an end. But I wanted to say this is that the curtain has been pulled back on federal prosecutors in this country. And the Southern District of New York has exposed to the world that, number one, federal prosecutors will engage in prosecutorial misconduct. Number two, federal prosecutors will over-sentence foundational Black American men, where the bulk of the inmates in the federal system, let me not say that because I don't have the facts, but when I was in federal prison, the compound I was on, over 80 to 85% of the inmates in there were Black men. And I probably can say that the majority of the inmates in the prison system in the country are Black men, and probably in the federal system as well. They've been exposed. And the only reason they got exposed is because Puffy's money was tall enough to expose them. Puffy was able to hire the best attorneys in the land, and during that 8-week trial, and even before the trial, from before he was even arrested, they engaged in prosecutorial misconduct, and all of this came out at the trial. I've lost a lot of respect for the Southern District of New York. It makes me question. Now, in my case, in my fair case, I was wrong. I was ripping off the United States government, and I was breaking the law. And I got busted. I pled guilty, and I went to prison, as I should have, because what I was doing was criminal. But I had a respect from being in the federal system and talking to other dudes. And within the system, amongst the inmates, there's a tremendous amount of respect for the feds and the prosecution. And it stems from them being thorough, patient, complete, accurate, precise, hardcore, and almost impossible to beat. That is the general feeling. That was the feeling that I had, and a lot of the niggas that I talked to, and the white boys, and the Latinos, and the Asians, and the foreigners. Because when you go in the federal system, you go to federal prison, you're gonna be in there with people from all over the world. There's inmates from everywhere in there. Europe, South America, all over, Asia. That was the underlying feeling toward the feds, that they were tight, they were good, they were the best. But I don't think that anymore, because what I saw in this 8-week trial, and I was an in-courtroom observer for the entire trial on the 24th floor and the overflow, I saw blatant, open and notorious prosecutorial misconduct that was jaw-dropping, man. Like, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. You know, it's like you got a girlfriend, you got a lady, and you never would expect her to do something to betray you in a certain way, and when she does, you just can't believe it. You're like in disbelief. And that's what I was watching these people, man. You know, from number one, from the United States Attorney Damian Williams to Maureen Comey, the lead prosecutor, to the other 5 attorneys, they got exposed, and it made me wonder. It made me wonder, and it made me say, I wonder how many other niggas that they done did this to cheated without getting busted because that brother didn't have no money to hire a super all-star team of lawyers like Puffy, or he had a public pretender. You know, how many brothers got 10 years, 15 years, 20 years taken off their life, 25 years, who are innocent? That was what came across my mind as I was sitting there in that courtroom watching them do what they do. And Alexander Shapiro and Tenny Garagos and Mark Agnifilo and Nicole Westmoreland, Brian Steele, they exposed them. Xavier Donaldson, Anna Estevillo, Jason Driscoll, they exposed them. Jonathan Bach, he exposed them. The Southern District of New York called a professional witness, an expert witness they called her. Her name was Dr. Dawn Hughes, to testify as an expert witness for the prosecution against Puff. And by the time she got off the stand under direct examination, which I think it was by Maureen Comey, you know, they never disclosed, under the direct examination, Maureen Comey never disclosed that Dr. Dawn Hughes used to work for the Southern District of New York before she went out on her own, that 60% of her practice is testifying in court as an expert witness in the Southern District of New York in Manhattan, or in the Eastern District of New York in Brooklyn. Meaning that she has a super cozy relationship with the Eastern District of New York and the Southern District of New York prosecutors, having once worked in the Southern District of New York, which is a conflict of interest. That the bulk of her practice comes from that, and that they pay her $600 an hour or $6,000 a day every time she's called to testify. Maureen Comey, under direct examination, did not disclose that that Dr. Dawn Hughes had met with the prosecution team, I think maybe 8 times, six times in preparation for her testimony. Maureen Comey did not disclose on the stand under direct examination that Dr. Dawn Hughes, who was testifying for the prosecution, met with the prosecution again after Tenny Garagos gave their opening statements for defense strategy, which is highly unethical. Maureen Comey in the Southern District of New York did not disclose that Dr. Dawn Hughes, the expert witness who's supposed to be a blind witness, she's not supposed to lean toward the prosecution, and she's not supposed to lean toward the defense. She's supposed to be straight up and down like 6 o'clock. That after Cassie got done testifying for 3 days, she went and met with the Southern District of New York again to prepare for her taking the stand, because Dr. Dawn Hughes took the stand after Cassie got off the stand, after Cassie's testimony. This is highly unethical. This is straight prosecutorial misconduct. When you are charging a defendant and he's facing life without the possibility of parole. This is what the Southern District of New York did. She also, it was some other crazy stuff that Dr. Dawn Hughes did, man. You know, she did this seminar on how to, as an expert witness, she did a seminar to other expert witnesses like herself to teach them how to prepare for a cross-examination and a direct examination. What to do, what not to do. Crazy stuff, man. And after meeting with the prosecution, after Cassie's testimony, she and the Southern District of New York were emailing each other back and forth about what to put in briefs and motions and length, and just totally unethical, man. And Jonathan Bach exposed all of that. He exposed all of that. And that lady, man, by the time she got off the stand, when she was testifying with Maureen Comey on the direct examination, she was looking like this, like Hercules. But by the time Jonathan Bach got through with her, man, it was poof. She was on the stand like this. Her grill, mean looking grill, she was destroyed. She couldn't wait to get off the stand. Jonathan Bach was giving it to her. And after that, man, you know what I'm saying? And then come down to now, man. Puff got convicted of the Mann Act, which probably shouldn't have even been brought in the trial. The structural statute, the structural meaning of the Mann Act, when it was enacted in 1910 as the White Slave Traffic Act, Puffy's conduct doesn't match that, right? So that's why Alexander Shapiro filed a Rule 29 to say, like, yo, this ain't even what you doing, man. Chill. Throw this out. Acquit Puffy, because what he did and what this was initially intended for, it don't jive. Because initially, when the White Slave Traffic Act was enacted, it was for women and children. Excuse me, women and girls. You know, but he gets convicted on that. The first person ever, as a John or a Trick, to get convicted, imprisoned, and denied bail. First ever, as a John. Now, the Southern District of New York with the probation department is asking for 7 years. The prosecution is asking for 20 plus years. Over sentencing for a charge where just on Long Island, a cop on Long Island just pled guilty to 1 year in prison for running a prostitution ring, where the girls that he was managing were paying him $6,000 to $12,000 a month. He was a cop. He got a year. None of this is way more egregious than what Puff did. Over sentencing a foundational Black American man. So the Southern District of New York is exposed. Puffy exposed them. And they got beat at trial. And rather than say like, yo, we went to war, we fought it out, boom, boom, bing, you was the best man today, you got me today. All the best to you. That's how you lose with confidence. You lose with maintaining your masculinity, maintaining your pride, maintaining your dignity. But they didn't do that. They lost on a bullshit ass case. They got beat at trial by a foundational black American man with tall dollars. They got beat. And now, to save face, they're trying to give this man, they're requesting 7 years in prison for a Mann Act charge. There is absolutely no way that Judge Submaranian will sentence Puffy to 7 years. No way possible. But they took a hit. The United States took a hit. What the Southern District of New York is doing now, asking for this ridiculous sentence from Puff, is just making the United States look bad. It's really making the country look bad, if it hasn't already looked bad. The whole world is watching, and they see that this brother, man, Puffy, this should have never even happened. Even though I think Puffy going to prison was good for Puff, and I'm proud of him. He didn't rat, he didn't cooperate. And I think this year that he did in prison is going to be the start of his new beginning, and it's going to be the springboard to something great for him. And I'm glad he went to prison for the 1 year, because it got him away from people he needed to get away from. It helped him get clean from drugs and alcohol. Let's see if he could stay clean. It helped him look at himself and reflect on his life at the age of 56 and ask himself, like, what is he doing? So I know this is going to be a benefit to him, 100%, 100%. Look at my trail mix. Look at my trail mix. My trail mix better than yours. Your trail mix don't taste as good as mine. But the best is yet to come for Puff. His best days are in front of him. Free Puff. Peace.